Hey, what's up, guys? I'm just tuning in here today. I got a couple of things to talk about. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of the future stuff we're building, what's coming up here, a little bit on the news and how that kind of affects us and what we're kind of thinking about, our approach to that. That's really what these are for. So I'm going to dive right into it. We started putting out there a little bit of, I just found out we're doing a agenda kind of thing on Twitter. So that's great. So some of the things that I want to talk about, which are there, so you can check it out there too now. So we're going to be going over a bit on Harmony, what's kind of happening there. The UNIFI staking. This has been a long topic, a long discussion. I'm pretty opinionated about it. Maybe not directly in line with everyone's thoughts here, so I'll put that out there. And then finally, there's been a ton of talk about BTC as a commodity and things like that. So I'll dive into that. So starting out with Harmony, what's going on there? So as everyone I'm sure is aware at this point, there was a really unfortunate incident with the Harmony bridge, which was attacked on Ethereum. I think it was attacked maybe on their own chain as well, but specifically it was attacked on Ethereum. They managed to steal at least $100 million worth of ETH. In addition to that, they stole a tremendous amount of tokens, probably somewhere in the same kind of ballpark as well. It was taken in ETH, was also taken in other tokens. There's been all kinds of topics that have gone out there. A big topic, if you guys aren't aware, is Aave actually put out a really cool kind of notice of action, what they're doing to kind of address things with their community on that blockchain, because obviously this affects a lending platform. What's happening is people are putting in one tokens. It's very hard for them to get them back out of there again because there's not enough liquidity of that token, because people are using assets that are no longer backed or may or may not be backed to extract that, and it's causing some liquidity issues and crazy APRs there, and all kinds of stuff is happening. But essentially, the reason that I want to talk about all of this today is because it has a huge effect on us. Not just on UpV2. That's like one aspect. That's like regardless of going forward, UpV2 is something we're planning to deploy on all of our partner blockchains, regardless of these kinds of things. But in lieu of recent events, we're likely to kind of shift gears and focus a little bit more somewhere else, and kind of maybe put that blockchain on hold and shift gears to a different blockchain on the same schedule. So that's kind of our plan there. But really, what I think is happening here, and I think is so important to talk about, is like this whole sustainability as it applies to a bridge. We operate a bridge. That's no surprise to anyone. And essentially, we've kind of taken a very clear stance and a very clear position on how we operate that, and that's reputation over risk, sustainability over APR. It's very easy to put together, a system with a valueless token and generate crazy APRs and do all of these things. It's very easy to copy code or build on someone else's code and just put something out there that's functional. But we have years of reputation here now, and we've made huge efforts into making sure that everything that we build does not put our community at risk in any way. Not just because it's maybe not something we want to, not just because we don't want to jeopardize our reputation, but also because we put so much effort into focusing on regulations and taxes and liability and things like that. It's just not worth the risk for us. So one of the things that this kind of spurred in my mind when I saw this happening is, okay, we saw Terra going through its own thing. There was talk there about a rollback. I've seen some talk in the community of Harmony about a rollback that wouldn't really fix the ETH side, but it's still a conversation. And I started thinking, okay, what is the effect of a rollback on a bridge? And frankly, it's absolutely devastating, because you got to think about it like this. Somebody takes $10 million in a token, they bridge it to another blockchain. So on blockchain A, they deposit $10 million worth of tokens. On blockchain B, they get out $10 million worth of tokens. Now, imagine blockchain A rolls back to a time before that transaction happened. That doesn't affect blockchain B. Now they have the tokens on blockchain B, and they still have them on blockchain A. And that's a major bridge problem. And that's not just the bridge that we have, that's all bridges are susceptible to that. And from my perspective, the position that a company that operates a bridge needs to take is that that's not really an acceptable solution for a blockchain. You know, a rollback is a pretty disruptive force when it comes to things like operating a decentralized or a cross-chain bridge. And I think it's pretty damaging to a lot of projects that are out there. So we haven't seen these kinds of things happen in recent memory, but just kind of the talk about that is pretty scary, because it threatens a lot of projects, and it puts me in a state of how would we as a company mitigate that kind of risk. And there's several things that you could do. You could not recognize the rollback. You know, just say we're going to continue to follow the blockchain, you know, pre-rollback. You could also do things like make sure that you're positioning your collateral in such a way that if a rollback were to happen, you're more secure. Pay very close attention to the events of that blockchain and make sure that that you move funds out of harm's way before it gets there. But at the end of the day, a rollback would cause a ton of issues. And I think it's important to kind of recognize that this is a viable threat on kind of all bridge solutions that are out there. And it's something everyone that operates a bridge should be thinking about, not just Harmony, not just UNIFI, but anyone else that operates a bridge too. So it's just kind of a piece that's been on my mind, you know, in terms of how to make things more sustainable and long-term and things like that. So with that being said, I'm going to dive into UNIFI staking. I've seen some talk here about, you know, well, let me dive into how it works today. How it works currently is we have a maximum staking threshold, and the more UNIFI that is staked on Ethereum, the higher the APR is. So when staking is low, the rewards are lower, but the more people that come in, the higher the reward for everyone, which is kind of neat. It kind of incentivizes it to go up as much as it can. There is still space there. So when you see, I think APRs are posting at somewhere around 17%, they have a long way to go up from there. And there's been some talk about why don't we flip it so that, you know, the higher the APR goes, the lower the return, and conversely, the lower the staking is, the higher that the reward is. It's a good idea. It's a good solution. We've seen this adopted by tons of other blockchains. We've also seen things like, you know, a flat reward structure adopted by tons of other blockchains. But from my perspective, what is the goal of staking here? I think a lot of blockchains themselves use staking as a way to remove liquidity from centralized exchanges in hopes that it can like help bolster the price of their token, the value of their token. But as with Ethereum and virtually every proof of stake blockchain that's out there, it's basically this massive pile of chips that are being set aside. In some cases, 50% or more of all tokens in circulation are locked in staking, and those are just waiting to be cashed in. So at some point, people could take those off, drop them onto the exchange, and it kind of have a negative impact on the token economy. So for me, when I hear things like, oh, we should reevaluate, you know, staking so that the rewards are higher at their current state, what I hear first and foremost is we kind of want to encourage the centralization of the release of our token, which to me sounds higher risk, which is the opposite of what we want. Do you want the people that currently hold our token to hold more, or do you want more people to hold more of those tokens and to use them correctly? So from my perspective, that's really the objective here, is to encourage more people to come into the system instead of those that are in the system to gain some better return. Because at the end of the day, this isn't something we're not trying to get the token price up by December 31st so we can achieve some goal. No, we're kind of taking a look at this and saying, okay, in 5 years from now, what is our token economy going to be? What is UNIFI itself going to be? Like, how are these different aspects of our ecosystem going to interact? And how is that going to run? And from my perspective, the people that hold the token are going to have a very direct impact in how that's run. So pushing towards a centralization effort now is is in my view short-sighted. And so that's why for me, when it comes to staking, we really need to address this. I don't love the way that staking works right now. I could see a change to a more flat staking kind of model, and then basically uncap it. So basically say there's a fixed amount of rewards per whatever, and just uncap that, and then we could see more people come in and stake, and that would push the APR lower. But we're not at capacity today, so I don't see that as a benefit myself. So yeah, I'm kind of going on. I'm kind of talking on both sides here, but I think the real takeaway that I'm going for on this is that when I look at UNFI staking specifically, I see it as how can we take people that are early adopters and make them more important members of our ecosystem, and how can we encourage more people to participate within UNFI's ecosystem so we have a more diverse base. The goal here is number of token holders, not number of tokens held by a smaller subset. So that's the goal. That's the approach. We have some ideas, and I would expect to see those roll out here by the end of the year, and probably come January 1st, a much more significant change in terms of how staking works. So, just covering kind of those two, I guess I could talk a little bit about this BTC as a commodity thing. I think this is a really cool point. We had, fortunately, when we went to consensus, we had to spend some time with our partners, including some of our legal partners there, and we had a really great conversation about about a crypto commodity versus a cryptocurrency. And I kind of stand by this position that cryptocurrency is a misnomer. And I think it's a misnomer that's used to instill this kind of safe feeling in terms of the tokens that they're using. And when you consider something like Ethereum, a cryptocurrency, right? When you think about Ethereum is a cryptocurrency, what I hear when I hear that is, okay, a cryptocurrency is like, a dollar. It's something that's, it's a store of value. It's used to be spent. I can exchange it for goods and services, whatever. But people kind of forget that it's like, that's not exactly the way that most of these blockchains work. In fact, the way that most of these blockchains work is the currency is not a currency. It's more like a barrel of oil. You spend some of it. The value of that barrel can go up and down. It can cost you. It can require more of it depending on the car that you use to get from A to B. So it's like it's not exactly the same as a currency because it fluctuates in value. And so that to me is what makes it more of a crypto commodity. And when people label that a cryptocurrency, they think, oh, I should just hang on to this thing and just keep it because it's a currency. But no one would think that with, going to a gas station I'm going to put all my savings into gasoline, and I'm going to hoard gallons of gasoline in my garage because they're going to go up and down in value. People don't think that. People don't think of it as a way to save. Now there is obviously stocks and stuff like that, but that's besides the point. The point that I'm trying to make here is that at the end of the day, a commodity versus a currency is a pretty big thing that you need to differentiate between. And when you start labeling cryptocurrencies as currencies, for me, it puts the concept in people's minds that this is a store of value. So when I see that the Fed is coming out and saying, Bitcoin is a commodity, I'm like, well, yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? Like Bitcoin is a commodity. It's a commodity because its value fluctuates. Its value should fluctuate, just like a gallon of gas should fluctuate. And Bitcoin, one of Bitcoin's primary utilities is to actually be spent on running the network. And that's how it works. The first person that ran a Bitcoin transaction put in electricity and effort, and they got back a meme coin, which we call Bitcoin today. And over time, it's gone up in value and it's accrued. And so I do tend to agree that labeling that as a commodity is pretty important. And I think it's a much more authentic way to look at it. And I think when you are coming into the crypto space and somebody says, oh, this is a store of value versus, this is a commodity, think about it like barrel of oil or like, pounds of wheat or whatever, like that makes a big difference. So I think it's authentic. I think it's the right approach, and I think it's kind of a good, safe direction to go in. So guys, with that being said, kind of been rambling a little bit on all these topics. A lot of cool stuff going on here in the space. A lot of changes that we're making here recently. Coming into August is going to be pretty wild. I anticipate some, if everything goes exactly according to plan, we're going to have a pretty massive debut there of kind of what we've been working on here. And I would argue it's what we've been working on here for 4.5 years. So unveiling that is a big step for us. And I'm super excited to kind of do that and kind of position the why behind everything from U-Trade to U-Stake, Darby, all these different things, UNIFI token, and kind of how this all fits together into the future. So that's coming here soon. And I am really excited about it. Preparing now to go on a little bit of a tour here with some of the team to start getting our partners like totally up to speed on what this means for them. And yeah, guys, we're really excited about where we're going. And everybody have a great rest of your week. And feel free to post questions if you have them in the future. All right. Thank you all. Bye.